Hello guys, welcome to this another video, and in this video we are going to check against the most reputed weapon against white as black, which is e4-e5, and we'll see how we can handle it. Historically, if we say that there are lots of options which white can play, which is the popular Spanish or Rido pace, then Italian, Guico piano, Scotch, but now today we are going to see little bit of bit line, okay, which is not that as much popular like Rai Lopez, Guico piano or Scotch, but it is still having strong reputation. Even if I remember that one of the recent classical came in probably in candidates, Nakamura or probably IL of Man, Nakamura played against Fabiano Caruana, which is a very strong player, and won the game in 4 nights. So without wasting any time, let's go to the spin. So the game starts with e4, e5, and here we know that white can either choose between knight f3 or bishop c4, but bishop c4 goes towards bishop opening, where black is having an extra option of c6 and then attacking the center immediately with d5. We'll be sticking to our main plan, knight f3, and now black, irrespective of black's knight c6 or knight f6 move, we are going to play knight c3. We are transposing towards the 4 knights, and we will see that how white will handle this situation. And if you just play this line in rapid or blitz game, you'll understand that you don't have to prepare separately against the Petrov defense, which is a very solid option for black, and here you don't have to see. So knight c6, knight c3, knight f6, and here after white can play with d4 or as well, but we will be checking with bishop b5 line. And in this situation, this is the main tabia, and black is having a few choices. Definitely the main move is bishop to b4, which we'll check later. But apart from that, black can play bishop c5, bishop d6, and even there is another move which is interesting, knight to d4. Okay, so first we'll check the bishop c5 and bishop d6 move, and then we'll go check one by one knight d4 and bishop b4. So let's check first bishop d6, which is not that great. So the idea is black stops his d5 break and ready for the castle. So black's main plan is saying that I'm going to do castle, I'm bringing my rook to e8 and bring back my bishop to f8, and then I'll play d5. But we'll be playing a3 simply, the stopping this kind of knight before idea, because bishop can go back anytime, or maybe it can come back here as well. So a6, if castle happened, then we'll be playing d3, h6 and g4, and this is a very critical idea to remember. Whenever black will do castle and commit the pawn on h6, white should always look at this option, that g4 rook g1. Okay, so this is one idea. If I remember, the Tamnik employed it with black side, where in the Italian structure the white pawn was on h3 and then black played rook g8 and g5 g4. So that was very popular at that time. I think I'm talking about 2007-8, and after that this idea got noticed in several occasions. So g4 is the key move to remember. So a3, we'll be checking with a6, bishop c4, b5, bishop b3. You can go with bishop a2, that doesn't change that much. Castle, d3, and if rook will go to e8 here, one very important idea again to remember, we'll be playing knight d5. Okay, we are threatening bishop to g5. Okay, if play h6, again g4. Okay, so this is very important option which we have to always recall. Whenever we see that black is committing h6, we should always look at that g4, g5, rook g1 ideas. Okay, so we don't have to afraid about your kingside castle, because we can always play bishop e3, queen to long castle, and our king will be pretty much safe. So d3, and black can play knight d4, knight into d4, knight e2, and this pawn is little bit weak after c5 short castle, and as the arrows already the self-explanatory, this bishop is very powerful on b3. Black is somehow misplaced this bishop. If black will come to b7, this is a wrong diagonal for this piece, and white attack is free flowing, f4, e5, f5, knight g3, queen h5 or queen g4. So bishop can go to g5. Lots of moves are coming, and all pieces are indicating towards the king side. Even the rook can lift from f3 to h3 and attack it. So a3. Here we will be checking usually after knight d4. That is the pretty much sums up this line. So we will check here that once last side short move, which is d6, which is not good. We simply will thrust in on the center. This, and now bishop c6 is a key exchange to remember. If c6, so we'll be playing queen f3 with the idea of e5, bishop e7, e5, d5, knight c6, and white is doing absolutely fine here. White would look castle. I feel that e5 pawn is somewhat weak, c7 is weak, this is weak. White is having no weakness, white is doing castling. Black is not having the double bishop advantage, so white is definitely doing well. If black took with the bishop, so then we'll be still playing queen f3. The idea is we can play bishop g5 and long castle very quickly. My knight is very strong in the center. We can prepare some sort of knight f5 later on. Rook can come to the center, and black is somewhat less in space, so that justifies white's is not having the pair bishop. Now let's look at this bishop c5, which is one of the key moves. Main important three moves I already told. One is bishop c5, one is knight d4, another one is bishop b4. So we'll be checking bishop c5. And now here bishop c6, b6, d3 is a very popular line, which you can definitely examine by yourself, but we'll be checking short castle. We'll stick to our repertoire where we will be continuously following this idea, where short castle will be playing against each and every move. Short castle again, d6 doesn't matter, we'll be playing here d4 again, and because of the pin, black cannot take here with. So short castle, now knight e5. So we are exploiting that fact. We can make a fork with our pawn, double attack. So knight e5, d4, bishop d6, takes, bishop b3, otherwise this is hanging. And now in this position we have to understand that white is having excellent position, excellent attacking perspective. Even if black will damage our pawn structure, it doesn't matter, because white will having the power of double bishop. Even we can play c4, bishop b2, and two bishops will be excellent on this diagonal, okay. And after f4, e5, so white pieces will be free flowing. Queen g4, rook f3, rook can leave. So lots of attacking pens are there. h6 is not a good move to play, because one key idea is knight to b5. The idea is we are going to play f4 and knight will get trapped. So c6, f4, bishop b8 and knight c3. White is having a very good initiative, as the arrows already indicating. We are threatening already e5, f5. Bishop can come to e3. Queen can come to f3. Queen can go to g3. Rook can lift to f3. Rook can bring to a1. a1 to f1. And white, you can understand the position plays itself in this situation, and white is having an excellent initiative. So rook e8 here is the main move. We'll be playing bishop g5, c6, because f4 is under attack threat. And now a preparatory move, king h1. We are moving our king from this weak vulnerable diagonal. We're preparing for f4, bishop c3, bc3, h6, bishop h4. And now if black will try to grab this pawn, we will have an excellent initiative. Already we went little bit deep, but let's see that if black will try to grab this pawn, what will happen. Bishop g3, knight e4, and bishop e4, rook e4. And now we are, the important key move is that f4. We are opening up the king side. Black is underdeveloped. King is little bit stuck and feeling little bit weak. These pawns are quite vulnerable, and white is coming with all the pieces beautifully with rook a2, e1 and queen to h5. Let's see how the game can continue. d5, queen h5, queen f8 and rook e1. White is having an excellent initiative, and white should avoid the exchange of the pieces here. fg5, then bishop g4 is coming, and the pieces are getting exchanged somewhat, and we should avoid simplification. We should try to keep more and more pieces on the board, because this endgame black is having better construction and white is more here. So we have to understood this thing, and don't go for simplification. Simply play rook e1. We have the initiative here. We will be trading off the pieces, and just understand this position. Opposite color bishop helps white in this attack. Bishop and rook, both pieces are underdeveloped, and white is coming very fast in this attack. I already believe that black is already having a very difficulty to defend this position. So this is all about the bishop c5 part. Now we'll be checking the interesting knight d4 line. Okay, this is having strong reputation. Here you can go with, if you are playing for a draw, you can simply take e5, take dc3, queen e5 check, queen e2, queen e2, king e2, and sorry, bishop e2, and this position simplifies to an equal position, bishop e3 short, long castle, and it's completely equal dull position, and probably leads to a draw, but we will be checking with short castle, which is our main choice. We're simply completing our development, which I already said we are going to follow. Now black is having two choices mainly. One is c6, one is knight takes b5. Knight takes b5 is not the best choice. We'll be taking here c6, knight c3, d6 and d4, and after queen c7, now white is playing. White is having two plans here, but we'll be checking the most ambitious plan, which is bishop to g5, bishop e7, h3, again castle, a4. White is grabbing space in the queen side, rook e8, and here at this moment we have to remember we are going to change the character of this position because we do have two knights, so we'll try to keep the position close. And now bishop into f6, bishop into f6, d5, we close the position here, and the game will continue. If black will take here, so this is definitely white's free flowing hand. White is having an excellent position, but black will not take. Black will play bishop d7, playing queen d3. White has to try to keep this bind on the center to keep the structure close. As long as white will keep the structure close, white will have an excellent game. So rook c8, we'll just see that how the game can continue. Bishop e7, and even after d6, if bishop c6, knight d2 will come with the idea of highlighting the weakness. Knight f1, knight e3, knight d5. If they will take with the b pawn, then knight into e5 is a few tactics. Bishop h3, knight c6, queen c6, and after after queen h3, white is simply a pawn up. Not only that, this bishop is a bad bishop against this good knight. This is already highlighting all the key squares where knight can jump. So knight b5 is definitely not a good way to continue. Here the proper correct plan is c6 to go. And now white is having many choices. a4, c4, d3. Will be going with d3 plan. Okay. a4 is as similar as bishop to c4. They can play d6, h3, b5, bishop b3, and a5. Black is having good initiative on the queen side, which we are not going to do. So we'll be playing bishop b3. The idea is we are going to play knight e2 and immediately challenge the knight on d4. So knight f3, queen f3, and now bishop to d6, or even pawn to d6. And the moment the situation clarifies, we will bring our bishop to c4 again, because this bishop belongs to the strong diagonal, which is clearly indicating towards the soft f7 square. White is going to play a3, d3, developing this bishop, and white is having a very pleasant game here. So bishop e7, d3, short castle, a4, white can have space in the center. If black will play b5, bishop b3, a5 and a4, and white is having an excellent game. Knight e3, knight can jump to f5, knight can go to c4. This is somewhat weak, later it can be targeted from this knight. So better to go with short castle. We playing without any weakness. a4, bishop to e6, h3. We are stopping any kind of knight jump when we will be playing bishop to e3. Now bishop c4, dc4 is possible, but this is not a good thing for black. The d6 pawn is weak, and immediately we will be building our heavy piece battery on the d file. Rook will come to d1, then d3. This rook can come to d1 to d2, and that queen can come to d1, and we can create an Alekhines gun with b3, bishop to a3, and this pawn will be falling down in the near future. So d5, while black is grabbing space in the center, bishop to a2, d into e4, knight into e4, bishop a2, knight f6 check, bishop f6, rook a2, and the situation clarifies. it seems that it is pretty much equal, but again we have to see, we have a better minor piece. This bishop is definitely a better piece than this bishop on f6, black's bishop on f6. Even if black tries to exchange the queen, queen d5, queen d5, c d5, and important moves to remember here is rook to a3. With the idea we are activating the rook from b3 to attack here. Bishop can come to d2 to c3 anytime, and this bishop is definitely not that great piece, whereas this counterpart is definitely good, and rook e1 will try to highlight this weakness. So it is approximately equal, it should lead to a draw, but yes, white is having some chances to press. White can play a5, rook b3 to attack this b7 pawn. So this all sums up this knight d4 line, which is little bit tricky. Many players I've seen play bishop c4, bishop a5, where bishop c5 is an aggressive line, and there are lots of tactics in the air, which will not go in kind of complication. We'll try to stick to a main plan development, simply short castle and then go with this. Now the next line will be seeing the last option, which is the main variation obviously, which is bishop to b4. See, black follows the same story what we will be doing. We're doing castle, castle, and now bishop c6. And definitely d6 is the correct move. Let's see that what will happen if bishop will pawn will take and b pawn, and then this pawn cluster is not that great. Okay, this a7 is also weak in the endgame. We will take here, knight into e5, queen e8, and this is the main move here. If you try to play bishop c3, then dc3, knight e4, queen d4, and then knight d6, rook e1. Black's pawn cluster is not that great. White will simply play c4, b3, bishop b2, and this diagonal is very strong for white, and because of the presence of opposite color bishop, black will find difficulty to develop this bishop, and this is not a good diagonal again, because we will simply block this with c4, b3. Now let's see if queen e8 will happen. So we will be simply playing knight to d3, knight g4 is also possible, but if, the idea is if knight e4 there is a move knight h6 check, and with the idea of we cannot take queen g4 and some small tactics, but king h8, rook e1, d5 and d3, and where white is doing pretty much well here. But we'll be checking knight d3 plan. The idea is bishop c3, dc3, queen e4, rook e1, queen h4, queen f3, and again we are presence of the opposite color bishop will help white in the attack, and this pawn cluster white is going to play against. This is not a good pawn cluster in the center. c7, d7, c6 is definitely, whenever you will push the pawn, they will become weak, and I don't find any good idea to play against it. Again, you cannot play c5 because the queen is attacking the 8 square. So we'll see dc6, which is the main move definitely here, and we'll be playing d3 here. So d3 here, and now there are lots of arrows. Let me tell you, simplify this thing to you. There are multiple options available for white. Now in this position we should analyze it carefully. The full plan is, first of all, white pawn will go to a4, sometimes a5. We'll try to grab space in the king side. Okay, we have another plan which we can go with b3, bishop to b2. Obviously when the bishop will get chased, and then sometimes after knight will bring back to e2, g3, c3, d4, knight can land on f5. So those are some clear cut plan. Even there is another idea, which is knight d2, knight c4, knight e3, knight f5. Even with this another bringing the knight to f5, and we'll keep an eye on the f5 square. That is one idea. There is another possibility, which is h3, g4, okay, king h, and try to go with king g5, king h1, rook g1, some sort of king side attack. Another very interesting idea I want to tell you, which is king to h1, and then try to play knight g1 with f4 break. Okay, so even with king h1, rook h1 is also possible with potential g4 option. But this is the one of the key idea which you must remember. King to h1, okay, and after king to h1, then knight g1, and then pawn to f4, and we'll try to attack on the king side. That's very important idea. Here black is having few options, but we will check mainly 2-3 lines. One is that what will happen if black will play bishop g4, one move. What will happen because black will play knight d7 to attack this pawn and try to play with f6 plan, and we'll be checking another move which is, so let's check bishop c3 first, bc3, and after bishop g4, h3, bishop f3, queen f3, and this already simplifies the position, and this bishop is definitely a good bishop against this poor knight on d7. Knight is not having any entry, rook can come and attack this on the b file, even bishop can go to b2, bishop can go to g5, white is having lots of option. I can also see that king h1, g4, rook g1, g5, h4 plans are already there in the air. So after d3, let's see about knight d7 idea. The plan is pretty much simple. We'll go with rook f8, knight f8, knight e6, knight f4 or knight d4 plan. Knight e2, we already said that we are going to move with this knight whenever we get chance. Rook e8, knight g3, knight f8. This is one of the key diagram position, and this position we have to remember that our key plan, which is we are going to play on the king side. This bishop is not doing great on the b4, it is kind of misplaced, it is not targeting anything. We are going to play king h1. That's a key move. The idea is again knight g1 and playing f4, b6, knight g1, knight a6 and knight 1 e2, and we are preparing for f4, bishop d6, bishop e3, c5, and now queen d2, queen f6, b3, a5, and we are threatening f4 from long time, but we first fix the things on the queen side on the center, and then the time came and we played f4, ef4, knight f4. White is having an excellent initiative. If you just clarify this position, then the rook is coming, and this knight is having a great attacking perspective. Rook is going to f2, the another rook is coming to f1, knight is jumping on d5, this knight can go to f5 or h5, and white is having a very pleasant initiative here. So this is all about, and you can see here already I told you that king h1, knight g1 idea can be very powerful in this situation. So d3, and we take the main option, which is bishop to g4 here, h3, bishop h5, and if bishop will take here, definitely queen takes, bishop c3. Already we have checked this position, and this which is not that bad. Again queen e2, we are trying to prepare for f4 idea, rook f8, f4, and white is having very good initiative, queen c5, king h1, queen into c3, and I don't like this position at all, that bishop b2 and coming, and if pawn is falling apart. If f5, and that queen will take, that vsd will not take. So bishop to h5, and now again another key plan, which is king h1. The plan is again I am going to play g4, rook g1, knight e2, knight g3, knight f5. Okay, so that's the main idea. Queen d6, g4. If black will go bishop to g6, then definitely knight e2 is coming with the idea of knight g3, knight f5, rook g1. Okay, even knight h5, knight f5 is also coming. But what will happen if black will try to take it? So this sacrifice will not work here, because after takes and rook g1, and the idea is this bishop is hanging, will be playing rook to g3 immediately, reinforcing the knight on f3, supporting the knight on f3, and bringing the queen to g1, and will be unpinned ourselves, and bishop e3, knight e2, white is definitely doing fine. White is a piece up. This king is not that much weak. Even you can think of some sort of later on king g2, king f1, king e2, bishop e3, king d2, and the king will hide on the queen side as well. So this is all about the 4 knights opening, where lots of strategical ideas are there, and it's all based on practical approach rather than just playing on memorizing the theory and playing the game. Here if you try this, you will definitely get some new position, fresh position, where your opponent will be in unknown territory. You probably know this position better than your opponent, and you can create some practical problems for your opponent. So thanks a lot for watching. I believe you like this video. If you like it, please share with your friends, with your chess friends, and if you want to mention any line if I missed, so definitely comment it down below. And if you want me to cover any other opening, definitely comment it. Till then, if you are new in my channel, please subscribe it. See you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.